Hello again, my friends. As many of you know, I've been putting the Valve Index through its paces over the past several days, and now I'm finally here to give you my full review. Both the good and bad. There's plenty of good, but there are some significant downsides as well. Now, throughout this review, I'm going to be making a lot of comparisons to the Vive, because the only two VR headsets I have direct experience with are the HTC Vive and the Oculus Quest. But the Quest is on a playing field all its own. That's mobile VR, and I don't consider that at all comparable to high-end PC VR. It has its place, but they're not comparable. The Index package I received was simply the headset and controllers. I did not need the 2.0 lighthouses because the 1.0 lighthouses that worked with HTC Vive work just fine with the Index. So as a result, my setup was pretty straightforward. The lighthouses were already good to go. Steam already remembered my room setup. All I had to do was plug in the headset, pair the controllers to the headset, and then update the firmware. And then I was pretty much good to go. It was a very simple setup. Okay, let's start talking about comfort. Out of the box, this is the most comfortable VR headset I've ever worn. The Vive was decently comfortable, but it really didn't get truly comfortable until I bought and installed the separate deluxe audio strap. And speaking of deluxe audio strap, it is a very similar setup where you have this twisty knob that expands and contracts the strap to your sizing. And putting it on is pretty straightforward. You just open it up, put it on, and then you close it. After that, you then set the Velcro how you like, and it stays on nice and comfortable. So, like I said, out of the box, this is the most comfortable VR headset I've worn. The fabric is not the default foam like you usually get with other headsets. I'm not sure what it is exactly. It's some kind of a cottony, soft fabric. And that fabric lines both the face gasket and the back of the strap. This is a good time to talk about downsides. While I do like the fabric a lot, and the gasket does come off and on really easily with just magnets, it comes with just one gasket. I haven't found a need myself for different sizes, but I wonder why there's just a one-size-fits-all gasket when the world is filled with all kinds of people, different shapes and sizes, and I wonder why they didn't include different sizes for different faces. And since this is removable though, this is pretty easy to clean. I just run this under some water and then squeeze to dry it out, and then dry with a towel and leave it overnight. And that does it just fine for me. But there's no way to remove the back fabric. That is completely stuck in place, and there's no way to remove that. And so if you want to clean the fabric that's on the back, you'll have to just kind of wipe it down with a damp towel, I suppose, because there's no way to remove this like there is with the deluxe audio strap foam. And speaking of the face gasket, that's a great segue into glasses. And I have a confession to make. The glasses you always see me wear aren't the glasses I wear in VR. It turns out these glasses are too wide for pretty much every VR headset. And so I actually have a spare set of glasses that I wear just for VR. They're incredibly cheap, I bought them online, and they look absolutely terrible, but they're sure to fit every single VR headset. So I feel it's important to know that while many pairs of glasses will fit in the Index, not every pair will, sort of like these. These are too wide, so keep that in mind. All right, let's talk about visuals. There were two things that really impressed me, and one thing that really disappointed me. Now, the two things that impressed me were the field of view and the increased resolution. Now, field of view is really subjective, and it's hard to really be exact about, I think, because everyone is so unique in what they can see and how the headset will fit on them, and everyone's vision is different. And so field of view is hard to be exact about, but I still want to give you a demonstration with how it felt for me. And here's a rough approximation for how the difference felt for me with the Valve Index. And this is hard to demonstrate in video exactly, but wearing the headset, the difference was significant. It's not like it fills your entire field of view, but it's noticeably bigger. I should also mention that there's a dial to bring the lenses forward and back. Now, to get the maximum field of view, you obviously want to move the lenses as close to your eyes as you can, but I wasn't actually able to experience the maximum field of view because the lenses were actually hitting my glasses. So I would bring the lenses as close as I could until they hit the glasses, and then I would bring them a few notches back, because I don't want to play with the glasses hitting the lenses the whole time, because the friction could possibly cause scratches, and I don't want that. And so the field of view demonstration I'm giving you is actually not the full field of view you could be getting if you don't wear glasses. Even with that compromise, the field of view is still significantly improved over the Vive, so that impressed me. And the other thing that impressed me was the increased resolution. The difference going from the Vive to the Index is striking. It's so much sharper, and I can read text so much easier. Reading my inventory in Sky UI inside Skyrim is so much easier. It's so much more clear. It looks great. The resolution is phenomenal. There is a slight screen door effect. It's slight, but not really that noticeable. I was more noticing just how much improved the resolution was more than I was noticing a screen door effect. Like, if I'm looking for a screen door effect, I can see it and it's faintly there, but most of the time I was just distracted by the fact that it looked so much more clear than before. So it's not completely screen door free, and it doesn't feel like there's no pixels there. It's not like a Retina display, but the upgrade is real, it's significant, and that really impressed me. Now, those two things were great upgrades, but the biggest downside for the visuals and my biggest disappointment with the headset overall is the black levels. Going from the Vive to an Index, we go from an OLED display to an LCD display. By way of example, here's a rough video showing you the difference between how I feel the OLED screen on the Vive versus the LCD screen on the Index compares. Now, this is highly subjective, and I'm just accomplishing this through color filters. This isn't a recording of the screen, but this is how it felt to me. And I gotta say, doing my night hikes in Skyrim, I was pretty disappointed by the results. I really miss seeing deep, rich blacks in the forest and the stars, and yeah, it just becomes this milky gray mess. And if you enjoy Elite Dangerous or horror games or other darkly themed games, this might be an issue for you. And unfortunately, that's just something I have to get used to. There's no tricks or workarounds about that because it's just the nature of the display itself. So that's something I have to get accustomed to, and that was a downside. So before leaving the topic of visuals, I think it's important to cover the increased frame rates that are possible with the Index. In Steam VR settings, you have these checkboxes that allow you to increase the frame rate of the Index. Now, to be completely honest, I didn't see that big a difference. Playing games like Beat Saber and Windlands 2, I was expecting dramatic differences in the smoothness. There was a little bit more smoothness, it was there, but it didn't seem that dramatic to me, and I wasn't all that impressed by it. And so I just went back down to the default 90 Hz and played just fine. And so, yeah, that wasn't as big a disappointment as the black levels in the display, but it was underwhelming. It was like, I could take it or leave it, either way. Okay, getting to the audio, the headphones hover over your ears, which is really odd, but after you get used to it, it's pretty great because it's so much easier and faster to put the headset on and off without having to deal with any kind of headphones. Also, the audio is fantastic. It just sounds spectacular, and there's plenty of volume. It's really easy to have it be too loud. One important thing to keep in mind, depending on your living situation, is that since these are hovering speakers over your ears, other people in the room will be able to hear your audio. So keep that in mind, depending on your living situation. Speaking of audio, I want to praise the microphone. This is the on-headset microphone you're hearing right now, and it sounds fantastic. I'm so pleased. It's going to be so much easier to get up and running and record the microphone here. It's fantastic. I am so delighted to find out the default mic on the Index is spectacular, and it's going to be my go-to for Let's Plays because it just sounds great. I'm so happy about that, so that's super good. So finally onto the controllers. The way it attaches to your hand is with this strap that is cinched via this bungee cinch here, and you press this to release. So just slide your hand in, cinch in the bungee cord, and then it stays in place for your hand to do whatever you need. It does take some getting used to. Initially putting this on, it's a learning curve. It does feel a little strange at first, but you do get used to it. The strap has different sizing options. You just need to push in the top of it, and then you can slide it back and forth for different hand shapes and sizes. I prefer the one that's all the way closest to the middle. On the top you have A and B buttons, a joystick, and a touchpad. This touchpad looks to be only vertical, but it does have side-to-side movement as well. As far as the finger tracking goes, it works pretty darn well. The controller is constantly recalibrating for your finger position, so if you do find that sometimes in a game it's not being accurately tracked, you can just kind of drum your fingers a couple of times and the controller will recalibrate again to figure out where your fingers are. The actual tracker bar is this on the side here. That's how it tracks your position in 3D space, and the tracking works pretty darn well. The only times I've had issues with tracking are when direct sunlight is bouncing inside the room, but outside that it tracks very, very well. Some people have complained that their joysticks aren't clicking. I find that sometimes mine doesn't make an audible click, but it is actually clicking inside the game, so the functionality is there. One important thing to keep in mind, and hopefully this changes soon, but I want you to know that when you look at the list of supported games that support finger tracking, the vast majority of them, it's mostly cosmetic. There's no game functionality or nothing to actually do. It's just looking at your hand moving, which is cool, I guess, but it doesn't actually add anything to the game. And for the vast majority of them, that's the case. You get to see your hand moving, but there isn't actually game functionality that's designed with that in mind. I feel like we have yet to see real functionality of individual finger tracking inside games. Like maybe we'll have an interface on our arm and we just take our index finger and we type on a display or something. Or maybe we're just going to pinch to move sliders up and down. Stuff like that. That isn't really here yet. The controllers are supported in these games, but really it's mostly cosmetic. Now, having said that, I'm still glad to have these because even though, say, the gripping like this is the same functionality as the old Vive wand grip, gripping like this is 100 times more comfortable than gripping on the old Vive wands. So even though it's the same functionality in game, it's still much more comfortable and a better experience. So we have yet to see these reach their full potential in game design, but I'm looking forward to that day, and in the meantime, these are much more comfortable than the old Vive wands. So for me, it was a worthwhile upgrade, and I'm so glad I bought it, and this is going to be my new workhorse, especially for Let's Plays and, well, all of my playing, really. I feel like I will eventually get used to the black levels, and I'm really happy I bought it. Now, I do want you to keep in mind the downsides. I've praised this thing a lot, but I feel like the downsides are definitely worth considering. The biggest being, I didn't feel like the increased frame rate was all that big a deal. The black levels, obviously. And also with the controllers, there really aren't any titles yet that make full utilization of the controllers. I feel like there's tremendous promise, and hopefully more titles will come that really take advantage of this, but right now, there's not much that utilizes this hardware yet. So keep in mind those downsides if you're considering purchasing this. I want to close this review video with the fact that I'm so thrilled 2019 has become a year of many VR options. In the same year, we got the Oculus Quest and the Valve Index, which is pretty amazing considering how long we've been waiting for breakthroughs in VR hardware. Yeah, we had this full spectrum of choices now, from the easy entry-level Oculus Quest, which is an amazing device in its own right, all the way to the high-end Index that's tethered to a PC, and many options in between. It's a fantastic year that all of this has come out, and now anyone wanting to get into VR has many options to choose from. It's fantastic. I love it. Hopefully more VR competition enters our way. I think more hardware competition is only good. That'll increase innovation and move things forward. So it's in a very, very exciting time. With that, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you later. All right, bye. Well, that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe. See ya!